Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host Gamer K, and we are in the final video for the month of January 2025, and it's been a long time coming because for some reason January always feels like it's the longest month. No matter where you live, it always feels like it's gone longer than it should. Much like a lot of video games in last year. So hopefully this year will bring a lot better games that thankfully don't end up with a whole bunch of negative reviews, because last year was just hilarious. And to that end, anytime me and E are like, we hang out, we talk about games, we talk about shows, and we kind of talk about old games that could have been a little bit better. So that kind of sparked an idea in my head last year where I did a list of games. Some of them I played, some of them I didn't play, but I still find really interesting and intriguing, and it still has a lot of fan base. And I kind of think about how these games could have been taken a little bit better or improved. So that is why, and usually I do top 13, but this one's not really a ranking of how something is good or bad. This is just my top 9 video game improvement ideas I came up with over last year. And it was hard to, and yes, okay. So for this video, some of these games I have not played ever, but I've watched the whole games. I've saw how the gameplay works, and yeah, I know it's hard to critique on something that I never played. But these are just ideas, either gameplay-wise, story-wise, or everything in between of those two points for these games. These are just ideas I came up with to make these games more enjoyable. And honestly, I hope anyone who watches this video, I hope you guys see my point of view and everything. And I didn't do top 13 because it was very hard enough to come up with 9 subjects to talk about, let alone my regular 13, but I still was able to keep it an odd number because I always do odd numbers on the Game Hub. And these aren't in any particular order. I just kind of jotted them down, and yeah, let's see what you guys think. So to start off this list is a game that has become a running joke right about now. Also, what I'm saying is, for these games, these aren't sequel ideas. This isn't like, because having to revamp an entire, make a whole game just for these kind of ideas would take far too long. So these are just ideas that could have been done in the game to make them, again, more enjoyable. So I'm not making sequel ideas, although I'm pretty sure some of these may get different ideas from this. So, yeah, going back, this game has become a running gag for the last fucking decade, going on 12 years. And the fact that this game not only made fun of a certain meme, it's hard not to criticize this game. I mean, the long-awaited sequel next game is right around the corner. Next year, probably. I am talking about Grand Theft Auto 5. This had potential. As one of my very first mature video games, the other one being God of War 3, this game had the potential to give fans an amazing long-ass story. Because one thing I always love about games is when they do great DLCs. And I don't mean weapons, I don't mean skins, I don't need decals for your fucking car that you're going to put on and then crash 5 seconds later, and then you're going to have to steal a car from the guy next to you. These are ideas I had when I was in high school. Because after high school, because right after Grand Theft Auto came out, I got it for PS3 for Christmas, and all my relatives and all my family were surprised that I wanted this game. Played it with my cousins. They really like screwing around and having fun, and that's something that we like to do at family gatherings. But Grand Theft Auto 5, after a great story, they had so much potential to fucking give us DLC. So I came up during college. It's something I like to do. I like to come up with common story ideas. 3 big story ideas I came up for the DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5 that I called the extended-ish story. One, and all 3 of them have to do with certain characters. For one, had to deal with the fallout that happened with the FIB and all the other agencies afterwards, where Dave comes back like a year or 2 later after the events of the game and says, like, the whole thing that was Steve Haynes and everything. Obviously, he covered our asses and everything, but sadly, there's another problem. The new director, head in charge, is worse than Haynes and is after our asses. So having to literally have Michael have to get the gang back together to basically pull off one last big heist. Okay, that's a lie. It's going to be a bunch of small things that this guy's going to have us do until we can find out how to take it out. This DLC would incorporate Franklin, Trevor, and Michael, obviously. And the idea I had, they literally did it in Grand Theft Auto Online, which was to use a casino heist thing where we could actually gamble and try to rig the games. Somewhat like Ocean's 13 in a way, but, more swearing and less humor. To do something like that, where we infiltrate a casino, like after we do a couple jobs for this one guy who's obviously part of a criminal organization, we decide after we've been put through enough, we decide to kind of set him up as say how we could get him a big score, but at the same time, we screw him over and doing a casino heist. It would bring back an amazing, the concept of Ocean's 13, like I said. Second one would be after Lamar tries to get into another business opportunity with Franklin, we kind of screw over another couple gangs, the rest of the ballers, and after the stretch situation, they need help. So while Michael and family are off on vacation to have an actual vacation, there's only one thing to do. Head into the hood in the desert where they ask Trevor for help, and these missions will primarily take within the mountain area, the forest, and within Sandy Shores. So this time bringing Franklin and Lamar into Trevor's home turf to try to figure a way out. And for the last one, the last third DLC, like I said, would be a prequel one where it kind of showcases how Michael and Trevor met, all the shenanigans that they got up to for years, and what led up to the North Yankton botched job, what led to it happening, and what was a catalyst that created the events of Grand Theft Auto 5. This is something that should have been done instead of online missions. Like you guys literally took online and you could have put all those missions and put them into a DLC every couple of years while you were working on Grand Theft Auto 6. Because it's been a decade. And I came up with these ideas when I was in college. I mean, also, actor Stephen Olg basically said years ago that they had him record lines for a DLC, but it was scrapped because I guess they figured they could get more money from people playing online and doing all that stuff than buying DLC missions. I've ranted about this for so long to my cousins and to E and to any Grand Theft Auto fan, and they love the ideas. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess they're my cousins and my best friends, so they gotta say that. But no, they were really intrigued with how much detail I got. And I swear to God, we need DLCs more than we need online service that basically gives us the same thing we could have done with the characters. I mean, you did one with Franklin and Lamar years later, and you had Lester come back. You had Trevor be in there for a little bit in the beginning. Like, you guys fucked up. Like, that is, and I swear to God, Grand Theft Auto 6 had better have good stories, because, God damn it. Is Alice Madness Returns. Now, I played this game a little bit when I was a bit younger. E had it for his Xbox. We played it a lot for a bit when we were at his house years ago. And yeah, I watched the whole game. And yeah, American McGee. First off, I am sad to say that obviously, Alice Asylum will never be happening. American McGee has moved on, and I 100% respect that. 100%. It was a good ride. So, yeah, what could have been. But for Madness Returns, I mean, it was fun. It looked good, better than the first game. But, just one, I mean, again, the levels were nice. The character designs were morbid and really, really weird. But, just one little, problem. Where are the boss fights? Where are they? That's something that the minute I played the game for the first bit, I got from Hatter's Domain to the Diluted Depths. And obviously that's where we ended it. Well, I ended it at least because I had to go home and everything. But at the same time, where are the boss fights? And no, I don't count colossal enemies as boss fights. I don't. And that fucking teaser that they gave us at the end of Hatter's Domain with the giant robot piloted by Dormouse and March Hare, I was so ready. I was ready. And then they throw a teapot on its head and it destroys itself and they get ejected by Mad Hatter. One boss fight in this fucking game, and it's the final. What? Okay. From what I remember of the original American McGee's Alice in Wonderland game, there were boss fights. They were annoying from what I saw, but they were still boss fights. And you cannot call running from the executioner in the Queen's Domain a boss fight. Although you could call it a chase boss fight. Yeah, if anyone ever does a chase battles list, definitely add that one up there. It's very terrifying. But, the boss fights is what sorely was missing in Madness Returns. They could have represented different parts of Alice's psyche as we're going through her mind and trying to remember the Days of the Fire, which I do like that they implemented that in the door, in the halfway part of each level. I do like that. But the boss fights, we could have fought in Walrus and fighting Carpenter and Walrus wouldn't have made sense. But the dead soldiers, that's not a boss fight. the giant wasp soldiers in the caterpillar in the east area, not a boss fight. Everything in this game could have been done to super high level if they created some part of Alice's psyche at each location. I mean, obviously the robot would be, the Dormouse and the March Hare trying to stop her and everything because they've gone mad. But the remaining 3 areas could have been symbolism of Alice's family, her parents, Lizzie. Like in the Diluted Depths, we could have had a boss fight where her father was a captain of the ghost ship. And we'd have to fight the ghost ship and the minions. That would have been great. For the East, we could have had Alice's mother be represented by the okay, I know it's kind of weird having 2 queens as boss fights, but it's Alice in Wonderland, so shut up. Being an insectoid queen that commands the wasp soldiers and everything, and we have to defeat her by destroying the hives, so not attacking her directly. And kind of brings back a little bit more memories. And in the Red Queen's domain, we could have obviously had a corrupted form of Lizzie as the Red Queen. And then after the boss fight, it's peeled away to reveal the form of the Red Queen that we had in the game, to show that she was being corrupted by the influence of the infernal train going throughout Wonderland, and that we helped her get her insanity back. Oh my God, I'm talking to no end about this. But yeah, Madness Returns needed boss fights to make it feel overall complete. Next on the list for my 7th option is Assassin's Creed Revelations. God, I hate saying negative shit about the Ezio trilogy, but it is the weakest one. After a revenge story, and then taking down the Borgias and rebuilding up the Brotherhood in Rome, we are given a story of Altair's library going to Masyaf after over 300 years, and a race to Constantinople to fight the Templars, with some of the most boring missions I've ever had to experience. Guys, why do Ezio dirty like this? You gave him 2 amazing games where he was a badass. But what needed in this game was a structured story. All the chapters feel like they're all over the place, and that they feel like mini missions. As quickly as some of the missions start, they're quickly ended. Some of them are just cutscenes that we don't do anything. Or they end so abruptly with no extra, from learning Constantinople, learning our new mechanics in 1 chapter, then doing the tower defense and the and recruiting assassins missions, and then the story kind of pivots away from the assassins and helping Suleiman, who is a great character, find out if Tariq is a traitor working with the Byzantine Templars and all of that, and it just loses track so fucking quick. There are just so many moments that, and then we get this thing with Ezio's new love interest and future wife Sophia, who helps us just do the markings on books and on the maps to find the Masyaf keys and everything. But this game needed more, and also grinding for money and the and the tasks in this game are annoying as hell. It needed more substance. Like, it desperately needed side missions. It desperately needed them. Because you get a main mission where you help the Romany gypsies. You get one side mission helping the thieves, one side mission helping the mercenaries once, and that's it. No other side missions throughout the game. And except for continuously leveling up your assassin recruits and selecting 6 to be at the Templar dens and which initiates the Templar agent hunt. Like, remember how it was in Brotherhood, where as the story went on and you had the other areas, you could find the Templar agents and through people where problems are going on in the districts. Those were good because they had a little bit of depth. Or in Black Flags, when we had to do 3 missions for each assassin that we screwed over by finding these agents and helping them. This, it's 2. One when you first set them into the location, and one after they reach max level, and then they take them out. I wanted more Templars in this game. Like, I kept track, and aside from the Templar agents, we kill a total of fucking 3 Templars we kill in this game. Personally. In the main story. That is what bugs me about Revelations. As great as it is for Ezio's final story, and how cool Constantinople is, we get no interesting side missions. The villains are the blandest in the series, with the exception of Ahmet. I got to admit, his whole philosophy actually makes a lot of sense, and his scheme. But there are no Templars having control over the districts outside of the agents. And some of them are really well designed, but I wanted more, or maybe more substance of them. Like them being in the main story, or again, having a larger story during the side missions. But like I said, some of them are so quick and about, almost a good majority of them tailing, which tailing is some of the worst things in Assassin's Creed. I mean, to do them once in a while is okay, but almost every fucking mission in this game has tailing. People think Black Flags has too much tailing. Replay Revelations, and then you tell me who has more tailing. So yeah, more Templar agents with better stories, more side missions. Could have made this game so much better. I can count on one hand the number of side missions Revelations had, and I can count on multiple hands how many side missions Brotherhood had. It just felt like a decrease, and they put a lot of effort and time into the Lost Archives DLC, which I don't even want to finish because I don't care. I watched the ending online. I don't care. Oh my God. Next one before I plop a blood vessel. 6 on my list. Okay, I'm going to be fully honest. Sonic, to me, I love him in the cartoon, Sonic X, Sonic, what was it? Sonic Prime was actually really, really good. I'm not going to lie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really, really fun. And some of the video games, including Unleashed and a topic on this thing. But I'm going to say, I'm not that huge of a big Sonic game person, unless it's like the story games. So, I think that there are some Sonic games that people overlook because of how weird they are compared to the other Sonic games. And I think some of them deserve a chance. Not you! Not you! A joke after a joke. For many good Sonic fans, these may feel like the black sheeps of the family, and you would be correct. Sonic and the Secret Rings and the Black Knight are some of the... I mean, I only play Black Knight a little bit. I rented it. For any of you who remember what renting was at your local Blockbuster. But I do have Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's a favorite of mine. But there are a couple things in these games that kind of deserve to be on my improving list. For example, a little bit better of a story structure. I mean, everything in it is great. Story-wise, they're very unique. Again, Eggman can take a back seat to being the villain constantly. And we are given two unique villains in the game, in both games, and I do love it. Starting with Sonic and the Secret Rings, the whole thing with the Eraser Djinn giving us a countdown to collect the 7 rings, and with one of the best girls in Sonic other than Rouge and Amy, Shara. She is just so cute, and I love her. One thing that could have been done with this is the story structure kind of has an off feeling to me. Especially since outside of Eraser Djinn, I counted, we get the Scorpion, the Behemoth. We get 3 boss fights in this game. Outside of Eraser Djinn and the main villain. And so we find the secret rings, the 7 rings, by completing the certain missions in this game, which I don't like how the main thing we're trying to get can be completed not by defeating a monster, but just by completing a regular track. Also, did we really need to have Tails and Eggman and Knuckles portray certain characters when they serve almost no purpose in the overall scheme? I mean, if the Eraser Djinn took over the land of the Arabian Nights and removed their stories, shouldn't the characters also be gone? Wouldn't it have been better if this was like a deserted wasteland kind of story where there are no other people and we just go mano a mano on the monsters? I think the bosses could have been done a little bit better and have 4 more to implement each of these beasts guarding one of the secret rings. And obviously these are the monsters that were also created by the Eraser Djinn's thing. So obviously no, wait a minute. He created why are we seeking out the 7 rings if some of the monsters have the rings? No, seriously, that doesn't make sense. How could the monsters he make have the rings, and yet he needs us to collect the 7 rings? Or maybe I'm missing something. It has been a long time. So structure like that could have been worked more for Secret Rings. Sonic and the Black Knight, on the other hand, needed some more structure. I swear to God. Obviously, the amazing King Arthur as a villain is great. And having Sonic's comrades and one rival being reinterpreted as the Knights of the Round Table, I love that idea. Shadow, Knuckles, and Blaze, who doesn't get enough attention in the games, by the way. I like the idea. And the sword combat for Sonic and the boss fights that have to guard and strike back the boss fights. I love the idea. I just wish there were more of the bosses. I mean, for fuck's sake, in the multiplayer section, you can see Silver and Jet as characters. Why were they not included? No, seriously, that's an actual legitimate question. Why were these two left out of being the royal knights in the story? Another one who could have been added and would have given a really good challenge, Espio, could have been a great knight that used more of a short sword and shield combat. Like, imagine having to strike his shield until he lowers it slightly, and that's your prompt to disarm his shield, so he just has to go dagger. Come on! That would have been so cool. And to finally fight Silver in a boss fight that doesn't stink. Yes, I'm looking at you. Thankfully, I never had an Xbox, so I never had to deal with that. Or to finally fight Jet in a battle that didn't involve Back to the Future 2 hoverboarding through something that will make you motion sickness. And again, the villains in these games, Merlina and Eraser Jin, are phenomenal. More people should give credit to these characters, because it's not just Eggman, it's not just Gerald Robotnik, and it's definitely not that evil creature that could have been done a little bit more. You guys know who I'm talking about. So these two Sonic games show what off the path Sonic could be if given a lot of love. And that's what these games do. Well, this one's going to be a shorter one. Epic Mickey 2. As I did in my review many years ago, Epic Mickey 2 is definitely something that had passion that I didn't know I wanted until it was really announced. But a majority of it is just playing the game multiple times, getting the trophies, and doing the different options for side missions and the main missions. And oh my god, I'm sorry. Unless you're playing with a friend, it's going to be not that much of a challenge, because Oswald will always do exactly what you want him to do when you want him to do it. But also, the game was just too fucking short. 3 chapters, and it showcases it's 3 chapters where we don't do anything really amazing. The boss fights, okay, boss fights are good. Boss fights are fun. But it's like a murder mystery night where you're wondering who did everything, while at the same time there's a guy in a top hat and twirling his mustache the entire fucking night. It's so obvious what they were trying to do, and the shock value that they tried to do near the end. It felt like something was... Obviously, they were thinking of doing a 3rd game, but that got scrapped. And the levels need to be longer. They needed more. As fast as you got into a new area, you leave it just as quick half the time. And for all the amazing levels that they created, they could have brought... we don't get to go to Tomorrow City once. And that fucks me up a little bit. Yeah, they added the Float Yard, Rainbow Caverns, and Fort Wasteland, and Blot Alley. They added a bunch, and the train, and the diorama area. They added a bunch of different locations. But they didn't add that much variety to it either. They gave us a couple new enemies, a new class of enemy, but they didn't add a lot to make it interesting and fun. And the story was mind-numbingly simplistic and obvious, but at the same time, I do love it, but I just wish the levels were longer. There were more boss fights, and we didn't have 3 chapters. It felt like it was done on arrival. So, yeah, I mean, I still love the game. I still love Epic Mickey. I wish we get something new for it in the future, hopefully. Aside from a rebrushed edition, which I like the old version. Like, if I ever get my Wii, my Wii ever continues to work, I am always going to replay the Wii version over this revamped version. It just feels more nostalgic. Okay, I can talk about Resident Evil this time. My knowledge on Resident Evil is not that great. All I know is if you're asked to go save your girlfriend in her creepy family's house, don't. But I'm here to talk about something that people could agree with me on this about Resident Evil Village, as it definitely took a different take on the Resident Evil series from what I've noticed, from what I've known. And for big Resident Evil fans among my viewers or my friends who see this, you can correct me on this. But when you put so much effort into making your poster woman in all your advertising, making her one of the coolest characters ever, and at the same time, making her the first boss? Are you out of your fucking mind? No, seriously. Whose idea was that? Whose idea was that? I want to know. Because there's no way you can take the best looking characters in that game, Dimitrescu and her 3 daughters. You cannot tell me you made her, the poster girl of the game, and you kill her within the first 3 hours. How is that possible? Like, imagine if Assassin's Creed made Rodrigo Borgia the main focus of the trailer, and Cesare, which we did in Brotherhood, and if they killed him off right from the start, so that entire trailer was bullshit. Exactly my point. Couple things that could have been done to make Resident Evil Village a little bit better was if they extended the whole thing and we weren't thrusted in to Dimitrescu's lair right after we escaped Heisenberg's werewolf things. I mean, the level at Bella Viento's house, fucking creepy as shit. Moreau, again, creepy as freaking shit. Heisenberg, best dude in the game, one of the best boss fights in the game from what I've seen, goes full Devastator from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen on your ass, and is literally one of the best characters ever. And I'll get to him in a minute. But Dimitrescu, wasted potential. Her and her 3 daughters. Yeah, we're thrusted into her mansion almost immediately by the cellar. What should have been done is we got out via a sewer system and we entered like the main area of the hub world of Village, which is, you know, where all the branching house leaders live. Where the merchant dude, who I love this guy. I thought he was going to be like a surprise boss or something, but thankfully no. And after we try to leave, he basically says that you're not, like, kind of goats us into going after Dimitrescu, one of the houses, because he says Rose is there, and we are obviously looking to save Rose. And you know, we kind of tell him to say where she is, but first we do a couple hours of gameplay outside the village, or inside the village and not in the houses. basically saying if you're going to go in haphazardly, you're going to end up dead before you even step foot in the house. So a couple of the obvious training routes that we do, like outside, the merchant decides to wisp us into an alternate realm where we learn about the stealth, where we learn about combat and what to do and how to do everything. And then he spits us back out after we've succeeded and basically gives the whole story on like the village and the people in charge. And, you know, Ethan basically says, okay, where is Rose then? Like if there's 4 of them, where is she? So obviously the merchant's not going to spell it out immediately, but he just basically says the large woman that you met before, Lady Dimitrescu. Rose is within her mansion. And that's why we first go there. Because we're obviously led there by the dude. And obviously Rose is in all the houses, but we don't know that before. And instead of the daughters basically being the same thing, you know, get some cold air or light on them and they start freezing and everything. But rather, after a couple gameplay, like we search the mansion, we see a couple things about about Dimitrescu's daughters. We get a cutscene where we find out that they know that Ethan's in the house. Dimitrescu is furious, but sees an opportunity to make Heisenberg look like an idiot. And tells her daughters to go find Ethan and bring him to her. Where to, each daughter has their own kind of boss fight. Where, I can't remember their names, but the blonde one could be the insect one that we get throughout the majority of the game. Where the insects are swarming us, we gotta avoid her. And that's where the light will come in. We shine the light on her, we get the cold air on her, so she starts to freeze a little bit. And that's it for Blondie. For the brunette, we give her kind of like a hide and seek counter kind of thing where she sneaks like it's in the cellar and she moves throughout the walls on us kind of like a specter, and only when she's vulnerable by using like we got to use a flashbang at the precise moment to blind her, and that's when we can deal her some damage. Simplistic like that. As for the redhead, it could be somewhere in the manner with portraits, like a elongated pathway, where it's kind of like hide and seek, where we gotta, like she taunts us, we gotta find the right portrait, and we just shoot the portraits or damage it, and that will hurt her. At the end of it, the corridor's back to normal. She's there, and we finish her. And then Dimitrescu finds out that we kill all 3 of her daughters, and that's where we go into the big vampire, hot Dom Mom vampire queen. That makes, actually, you know what? It would be really cool to have Elvira dress up like Dimitrescu. Leave a comment down below if you think that's a good idea. And all that. And then we could have had something later in the game where we do join Heisenberg. Like he helps us through the last bit of the game. But then right before the fight of Miranda, obviously there's that forced choice where Heisenberg is telling us to give the bits of Rose. But we deny him, and that's when he becomes all Devastator. Like just having Heisenberg work with us for a little bit would have added a lot of depth to the game. Like we learn about him during the small bits of the mission of the story. We learn how he got to Miranda. Why is he trying to betray her? Obviously, it's because of Rose. But we get more information on Heisenberg through this. It would have added to the story. So, yeah. Okay, this one's a little bit of an odd one. Persona 5 Strikers. This is one that was definitely off the beaten path of what Persona could have been. Of what a Persona 5 sequel could have been. And I'm going for... Okay, the whole open hack and slash thing. There are so many games with that. I don't know why they went for it. I mean, I know a lot of people praise it. But for me, I kind of like a game to evolve, but at the same time have the same kind of mechanic when it comes to fighting. And I like the turn-based battle system. It kept you on your toes and not switching personas so frequently and using your head. It was strategic, and I loved that. Having it in Final Fantasy, for me, not so much. Persona 5, yes. And there should have been more jailers and more overlords. Because I counted, we had Alice, we had the writer, we had the mayor, we had our little girl help, which gave our cop buddy an amazing persona and an amazing outfit that kind of looks like Dante if he had a fashion sense. And we had the main dude, and then we had all the smaller jails that resulted in the people's past problems, which I didn't really like. And we had the Okinawa area where everyone was paranoid. We could have had a couple more jailers. I mean, An had someone to talk with again. So did Yosuke. And then Haru. And I guess Futaba a little bit. But why couldn't we have another jailer have something of a connection? Well, not a connection, but like a symbolism between with Ryuji. Why is best dude getting scruffed over having great moments? We had his amazing moments in the first game, obviously, but what if in one of the cities that we go to on our summer vacation, we run into a area where this high school kid that Ryuji kind of sees himself in, you know, and he finds out the past about how he was constantly being ignored by people, bullied by the students, by the teachers, and all that. Kind of like how Ryuji was, because he was a bad guy. Well, he was more of a delinquent student. But then we find out that but for somehow he became popular, and some people who remembered him don't remember him as such. And we find out he's got a jail, and he sees himself as this. I don't know what the theme could be, but it could be something of prestige. And he just says like people admire him because they submitted to him. And Ryuji originally sees this kid and thinks, yeah, I was a delinquent too, and people finally accepted me. But when the group and Ryuji find out that he used Emma and the jail to get people to care for him and like him like that, and to basically again submit to him, Ryuji goes off his rocker, saying that he's no better than an old teacher he had. And he thought like maybe this kid could hang out with us for a couple bits of the section until we find out the truth. Maybe not a school per se, but maybe a summer camp that he's running, and he's making everyone like him because he has the power. So basically turning the summer camp into his own jail with all the young students there, all the counselors and everything, to see that he's a great guy, but he's manipulating them. I think it would have been something cool, because it would be someone for Ryuji to save and say, what you're going about it the wrong way. And obviously bringing back to when Kamoshida basically used Ryuji, his old teammates, to basically put blame on him. It would have worked. That's a problem. That's why I didn't want to play Strikers, because I watched the whole thing. Gorgeous game. But it felt so short with the way the bosses and the fights went. But it could have been so much more with maybe one or two more jails and overlords to deal with, and not just the masses of Okinawa kind of hiding a factory where Emma was created. And it could have been so much in that realm of making it more amazing and having not every character have their own thing. But give my boy Ryuji the respect and what he needed. Also, Makoto and Joker, canon couple, please. Okay. It took over a decade after a cancellation of that studio to bring back one of my favorite handheld series, the Mario and Luigi RPG games. Okay, I never played Superstar Saga, and I don't want to because it looks like a big slog of a hassle. But we got Brothership, and it made my heart sing again. It's only terrifying that Paper Jam was the last thing done before the cancellation and the revival of Mario and Luigi. Such a simple concept fucked up. So all of the paper characters come out because Luigi took out a book and all the paper characters came out of it. And then Paper Bowser and regular Bowser join their forces, kidnap both Peaches, and that's it. That's the story. I mean, and all of the bosses are minions. Petey Piranha, King Babam, the Koopa Troop, Bowser Jr. and Paper Bowser Jr., the football guys, King Boo. What were you thinking? And the map. Look at this map. It is the most generic looking map ever. Okay, guys. We went to another kingdom in the first one. We went through time. We had going inside of Bowser and portraying around the Mushroom Kingdom. We went to a different island. You thought going back to this generic looking area that's suddenly inhabited by all of these minions and those stupid as fuck giant papercraft mosses? Did someone's kid have an arts and crafts project and you decided to think of this as a game? Okay. This is the most bland and most generic thing you could have come up with for a Mario and Paper Mario crossover. Because I've never played a Paper Mario game in my life. I never had a GameCube. But from what I've seen and what I've been shown by good reviewers who talk about it, Paper Mario has had some of the most amazing villains. From the Shadow Queen, which, again, one of my friends needs to cosplay this one day, to Count Black and Diamante, I hope I'm pronouncing this guy's name right, to King Ollie from Origami King. I mean, yeah, maybe some people didn't like the Origami King or anything, but at least it was a great boss and had Paper Bowser and Mario working together again. You guys could have had them join forces to fight something that would have been absolutely amazing. Imagine this. Yes, Luigi accidentally drops the book and lets all of the paper characters out, Bowser and his paper minions included. And they're scattered throughout the world, and at first we don't think anything of it. So the first half of the game is basically us finding some of the paper bosses and sending them back into the book. And after we defeat them, they would be weak and we could fold them up and keep them stored. But here would be the kicker. Once we defeat Paper Bowser, after he joins with Bowser, what if something's been biding its time in the book? And as we're about to send the minions and Paper Bowser back, something snaps the book and drops it, and it starts floating in the air. And two arms come out of it, and comes an original new villain that saw the portal from the paper world to the real world open up, and was trying to bide its time because the book was obviously closed. But without Paper Bowser in that world, this villain saw an opportunity to find its way through that portal again by kind of copying what Elder Princess Shrew did in the Cobalt Star. Basically, the voice saying it's chaos and the book is disappearing, because we see like the characters have faded, and if they stay out of the book too long, they'll disappear forever. That kind of BS. So we're on the clock, only for a matter of time for the villain to get to the portal and to succumb his own forces. And then after that, the villain emerges and plans to conquer the real world with its paper army of original monsters and villains. It could have worked, having a very original Paper Mario villain trying to take over the real world. Because let's face it, we haven't had that before. Because Paper Mario has never crossed over with real Mario until this game. So what better way to have, instead of having it be Paper Bowser and Bowser kidnapping Peach and all that, we get a new villain that after he emerges, he sends Paper Bowser and all of his minions back because there's only room for one big bad in here, and he kind of flicks Bowser away and creates his own evil castle with chains. Again, taking inspiration from Origami King, sends chains into every area of the game with a boss fight protecting it, allowing him to rule over the Mushroom Kingdom through his on-high castle. I know that's a little bit of a stretch to the imagination, but it's better than what we got with Paper Jam. I wish the Paper Jam in this game, because at least then we wouldn't have to play it. All right, last idea. Kingdom Hearts 3. I loved it. I loved it. However, there were a couple things that could have made it even more grand. For example, having Traverse Town be a little bit more open, having a couple more worlds, say, I don't know, Hawaii for Lilo and Stitch, although Stitch is a summon, so maybe not. Cusco's world, Pocahontas, Treasure Planet, Atlantis could have been really interesting. Have more focus on the new Princesses of Heart, because they talked about it in Arendelle and Kingdom of Corona with Marluxia and Larxene talking about them. So that's 3 new Princesses of Heart, but it's never discussed again unless they're saving that for Kingdom Hearts 4, in which case, put those worlds in the game so we can fucking get some good new worlds. Because think about it, we could have had these worlds where we have the new Princesses of Heart. We could have had Kida, we could have had Lilo, and for those of you who are saying, but Lilo's not a princess, look, if Alice can be considered a Princess of Heart, why not someone whose heart is absolutely pure? Check and mate. And also, The thing that would have compensated this entire game is these Organization 13 boss fights. Do what you did for Remind with those data battles, and you could have given it to us in the frickin' final section. Instead of having these boss fights be clumped together, and also in Remind, we got to switch between, we got to fight with Aqua, Ventus, Xion, Roxas, and Riku. You could have had that in the main game. It really wouldn't have changed much. Or to have each organization member have their own boss fight, so it wasn't clattered and it wasn't a rush. I wanted a mono on Luxord and not that. Okay, yeah, having him put Mickey and Riku into the cards, that was a stroke of genius at the moment. But you could have given him his own lengthier boss fight and not be tagged with Marluxia and Larxene. Having Data Riku and Zigbar. Having Terranort and Vanitas. Having Syax with... I don't remember who he was with. But you know what I mean. And although Triple Xehanort, Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, and Xemnas, Young Xehanort, Seeker of Darkness, and Xemnas, triple boss fight, that was actually pretty badass. Not gonna lie. That was fucking amazing. But yeah, having more worlds, again, Cusco, Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, Treasure Planet, Lilo and Stitch, Pocahontas. Please, give us Pocahontas. It would be really, really cool if they did it. Having the Neo Princesses of Heart being showcased more, having us save them, maybe after we defeated, fixed the worlds, and we went back to Traverse Town for a bit to stop them, and we have to go back into the worlds and revisit. I'm still mad we only did that in Kingdom Hearts 2. We could have revisited it again. And to have the Organization 13 boss fights be so cluttered, or not be so cluttered, and be mano a mano with amazing fights, it could have given us something so much more. And that's it for my 9 video game improvement ideas, guys. What do you guys think of the list? Do you think my ideas are a little out there? Do you think they're okay? All I know is I'm done for this month. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and join me next time, where we begin February by going back to my favorite card game, where... Make sure you don't paint the roses red. This is Gamer K, logging out.